Luke, I am your father. No, I am your father. So if you don't recognize that phrase, I don't know where you've been all your life. It's from the Star Wars franchise where Darth Vader's fighting Luke Skywalker, and the big reveal is that Darth Vader, spoiler alert, is Luke Skywalker's dad. So we've seen it everywhere, from the movie itself, it's been quoted in other movies, we've seen it in books, we've seen memes, we've seen parodies. But which is the correct? Is it Luke, I am your father? Or is it, no, I am your father? So if you're anything like me, I remembered, Luke, I am your father. But that's actually incorrect. It's actually, no, I am your father. So that, ladies and gentlemen, that is what we call the Mandela Effect, where a large group of people collectively have a memory of something that's incorrect. But how is it possible for so many people to recollect a false memory? Or is something strange going on and something's changed over time? So there's hundreds and hundreds of examples of the Mandela Effect. So we're going to look at what is the Mandela Effect, why does it happen, and I'm going to give you some of the top examples that you may experience yourself. So why is it called the Mandela Effect? So it actually started with a lady called Fiona Broome. Now she's a psychologist. Now back in the 2000s, she realised that tons of people like herself had a recollection of Nelson Mandela dying in 1980s, dying in prison. But here's the thing, Nelson Mandela didn't die in prison. He was actually released and he became South Africa's president, and he died in 2013. This collective false memory was so strong and so widespread that she named it the Mandela Effect, when large groups of people remember something differently to how it actually happened. So there's lots of theories about why this happens, but first let me show you some of the more mainstream Mandela effects to wrap your beautiful brains around. So we've all played Monopoly, right? Possibly the biggest and most popular board game to ever be played. So take a look at this picture and see if you can guess which is the correct image of Mr. Moneybags. You know him, top hat, fancy little suit, mustache, and the monocle, of course. Right? Except no, he doesn't wear a monocle and he never did. This one really messes with people because the image of him with a monocle is so vivid, it's ingrained in our brains. It feels like you've seen it like a million times, when you've played the board game, you've seen it advertised on TV, you might have played the game online, we've seen it everywhere. I mean, everyone recognizes the Monopoly board, it's iconic. But if you actually go back and double check the artwork, there's no monocle. Not now, not ever. It's never been there. So where does that come from? The monocle is a status thing. So when we see him dressed in that way, with his top hat and his suit and so on, I think our brains have either just made this up and put that image together, or there's something a little bit more strange going on. And again, that's the Mandela Effect in action. Pikachu's tail. So have a look at these two images and try and guess which one is the correct image. So most people, including myself, swear that Pikachu, the face of the Pokemon franchise, and that's something you can't get away from, it is actually everywhere, had a black tip at the end of his tail. So you're guessing it. If you picked the one with the black tip, once again, you're wrong. There was never a black tip. It's always been yellow. It's just crazy because now I envision Pikachu in my mind, I can see the black tip on his tail. So what makes this bizarre is there's a die-hard Pokemon community, and there's a chunk of them who do remember him having a black tip on his tail. There's drawings, costumes, fan art. There's evidence out there to show a black tip. But if you go back and take a look at the official artwork from day one, it's always been a full yellow tail. That is the Mandela Effect. Some fans might think we're confusing the tail with the ears because the ears do have black tips. Or maybe we're just filling in the blanks of what we think he should look like. And this is what makes the Mandela Effect so weird. Our brain is confidently remembering something that didn't actually exist. Or did it? And something strange is going on. So he's one that just trips people out from just the actual spelling. So when I was a kid on Saturday mornings, I'd spend that breakfast time, in front of before we go and play out, in front of the TV, watching cartoons. And this one's Looney Tunes. So take a look at this picture and see if you can guess which is the correct logo for the Looney Tunes. So most of us remember it as Looney Tunes, as in cartoons. Now that just makes sense, right? It's animated, it's a cartoon. So you'd think tunes spelt with the double O would just be the correct way to do it. But actually, it's spelt Looney Tunes, like Tunes, like music. So tunes with a U, and that's not a typo. So the reason behind this is when Warner Brothers created the show, they planned it to be like a musical series, like a cartoon musical series, hence why it's tunes and not tunes. So I don't think there's anything weird going on with this one. It's because we associate cartoon, so we'd expect it to have the tune spelling. Our brains will effectively rewrite the memory to make it fit the logic. That's a schema theory in action. Our brains want to make it make sense, even if it's wrong. So go look it up and you'll find that it's always been tunes. However, if you go and ask your friends, your family, people on the street, I can pretty much guarantee they'll say tunes, T-O-N-N-S. So let's talk about that Disney classic, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. You probably remember that scene with the evil queen when she's looking in the mirror and she's like, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? Except she doesn't say that. So in the original 1937 film, 1937, wow, the line is actually magic mirror. So it's magic mirror on the wall, not mirror, mirror on the wall. I know it sounds very small, just that one word, but I've never ever known it as magic mirror on the wall. I've always thought it was mirror, mirror on the wall, as do a great deal of other people. So was it ever mirror, mirror? Even in pop culture, from Shrek or on TV adverts, wherever I've seen that, away from the movie itself, I've always seen it quoted mirror, mirror and not magic mirror. If you go and watch the original movie or look it up, you'll find it's magic mirror. So what's happened here is this time travel. Has someone gone back and changed that part of the movie? Has it been edited and all recollection of mirror, mirror on the wall being wiped out of our history? I think over time it's just been misquoted and it's been so widespread and repeated over and over again that we've actually replaced it. Our brains have actually replaced magic with mirror, and it's just become the norm, even though it's incorrect. And that's another perfect example of the Mandela Effect. Our brains will actually remember what's repeated most, not necessarily what's accurate. So another one similar to that is from Forrest Gump. So there's that scene where Tom Hanks is sat at the bus stop and he's talking to the lady and he's got the box of chocolates in his hands. And that's where he actually says that famous sentence, life is like a box of chocolates. But is that exactly what he says? I know that's my memory of it, and I'm sure that'll be yours too. But the sentence actually goes like, life was like a box of chocolates. So that was just changes the context of the whole sentence. So those little differences, how we remember them, how do you remember it? Because I certainly remember life is like a box of chocolates. So here's some quickfire ones for you to look at. So take a look at this picture. Curious George, fantastic cartoon. A or B, did Curious George have a tail? What do you reckon? If you guessed no, then you're correct. I can swear that I seen him hanging from a tree in one of the episodes, or many of them, or I've seen pictures of it where he's hanging down talking to the man in the yellow hat or pinching something from him. Maybe he's just hanging down from his leg. I don't know, but I could have swore it was a tail. But that's the Mandela Effect. What do you think? Mickey Mouse. Take a look at the pictures here. Does Mickey Mouse have a tail? Yes or no? If you guess yes, then you're correct. No more tails. I'm not talking about any more cartoon characters' tails because this video might get flagged. So if you get into the rabbit hole of Mandela Effects, you'll find them everywhere, from movies to real life events to products and books and whatever, they're everywhere. So why do so many of us remember things that didn't actually happen? That's the wonderful world of the Mandela Effect. So it all comes down to how our brain stores and retrieves memories. We don't record our memories like a video camera. Our brain reconstructs bits and pieces and puts them together. And that's influenced by what we expect to see compared to what we've seen and to also what other people say. So when enough people share the same false memory, whether it's a movie quote, a logo, a cartoon character, whatever it is, it feels real. And that's called the collective false memory. And then there's a schema theory, so our brain will automatically fill in the gaps to what it believes will make more sense, even if it's wrong. And in pop culture, misquotes and social media, the world we live in now, that incorrect message can spread extremely fast. Some influential people also suggest multiverses and alternative realities, so that's something we can certainly go into another video if you wish. So whether it's science or whether it's sci-fi, the Mandela Effect just shows how glitchy our memory can be. So in conclusion, our memories are not as reliable as we think, and the Mandela Effect proves that. So which Mandela Effect messed with your head the most? So drop in the comments any Mandela Effects that you're aware of or any that you've experienced. Also, if you want to see more videos like this, we've barely scratched the surface when it comes to the Mandela Effect. And if you've enjoyed this little brain glitch type of video, then hit the like button, please subscribe, and we'll see you at the next one.